A bid to win the inflation war, the Central Bank of Nigeria for the third consecutive time has raised the monetary policy rate even higher. Now, a lot of reaction has hit the airwaves since this news got to all of us. And the question many people are asking is, are we tightening the economy or we are choking the economy? We'll look at this on the show today, and at some point, we're going to get to the market to price something that most ladies like to get. Ladies, get ready. Ladies, get ready. Welcome to MarketSquare. My name is Oluwapelumi Awe, and I'm glad to have you join me on the show today. So much to talk about on the show today. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria in its last meeting increased the benchmark interest rate by 150 basis points. That means that it raised it from 24.75% to 26.25%. This was stated by the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria at the press briefing following its 295th MPC meeting of the bank. Take a listen.
Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, held its 295th meeting on the 20th and 21st of May, 2024, to review recent economic and financial developments and assess risks to the outlook. Decisions of the MPC. The committee's decisions are as follows. 1, raise the MPR by 150 basis points to 26.25% from 24.75%. 2, retain the asymmetric corridor around the MPR to plus 100 to minus 300 basis points. 3, retain the cash reserve ratio of deposit money banks at 45%. And 4, retain the liquidity ratio at 30%.
That was the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, at the press briefing following its 295th MPC meeting of the bank. Now, from that video you just saw, you could note that the cash reserve ratio of deposit money banks was kept at 45%. Asymmetric corridor, I beg your pardon, was kept around plus 100 and then minus 300 basis points. Now, the CBN governor, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, while stating this, expressed optimism. He was quite optimistic. If you saw the video to the end of it, was quite optimistic as the fact that the tools being deployed would in no time tame inflation and create a stable foreign exchange market that would yield its needed result in the coming months. And so we're not talking about June, I tell you. We're talking about July, August, September, even maybe even till October. Yeah. Now, if you take the inflation figures for the month of April into consideration, which sustained an upward trend for over 13 months, hitting about 33.69% on a year-on-year basis, it looks justifiable to increase the monetary policy rate again. The food inflation figures for the month of March, it was on this show, I dissected all of that, was around 40%. And when compared to the figures for April, it was around 40.53%. This is data gotten from the National Bureau of Statistics some days back. Now, it looks like an increase. It looks like the price of the foodstuff hasn't reduced anyway, but it represents a 0.53 increase. But when you compare, you will only be grateful if you tend to compare with the difference between the figures for February, which was 37.92%, and March, which was 40.01%. You'll notice improvement in that. And on the screen right now, you can see the prices of foodstuff. First, you have rice there. First, you have rice, which as at April 2024 was was around 95,000 naira per bag. And then you have that in the month of May that we're in today, it's now 75,000 naira, I beg your pardon, per bag. And that looks like an improvement for those who like eating rice and those who have wedding receptions, birthday party, burial reception. And then again, you have for food prices for beans, you have that in April, the price was around 100,000 naira. And then this month of May, the price is now around 95,000 naira, which looks like an improvement even there, 5,000 naira difference for those who like eating our going and all. And then you also have the price for oil. Oil in April was around 5,500 naira, and now in the month of May, it's now around 5,000 naira. For those who like, you want to prepare stew, your soup, you need to use oil, and this looks like something that is a win. And those who like eating noodles, students in our institution, family of four, you have that in the month of April, the price of noodles was around, a pack of Indomie was around 7,800 naira. And then this month of May, you have it that it's now 7,500 naira. And that looks like a very good move there. And then for eggs as well, 1 crate of egg in April was sold around 4.5. I still priced it some days ago, some weeks ago, I guess, 4.5, and now it's now 4,000 naira per crate. And that looks like an improvement on what we've always had. Yep. And then you also have that there are also lows. There are also lows there. In the month of April, you had a tuber of yam was sold for around 7,500 naira. But the last time I priced it on the show, on this very show, I think it was that last week or so, it's now cost around 9,500 naira to get a tuber of yam. Now that's the downside of in the price of food stuff at the moment. And then you also have gari. Gari as at April was around 30,000 naira, and this month of May, it's now costs 50,000 naira to get a bag of gari, which is quite a lot. So 20,000 naira difference there. Yeah. Then you also have tomato. So a basket of tomato, you would get that in April around 35,000 naira, and then in the month of May that we are in now, you would get that for 95,000 naira, and then that's a lot, a whole lot of difference there. That's like 60,000 naira difference in the price of tomato, a basket of tomato in the month of April, and then also now in the month of May 2024. So a bit of change in prices of staple foods, and then we're also seeing increases in other parts of the in the foodstuff space there. Now, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria specifically noted that despite pressure from food inflation, the general inflation rate was moderating, although it's increasing, but it's moderating, pointing that the tools the Central Bank of Nigeria is using are working. The Central Bank of Nigeria's governor and its entire team have over time told Nigerians that they will stick to the orthodox way of managing inflation. Because in economics actually, when there is inflation, what you do when there's inflation is you tend to increase interest rate, and this is just basic economics. And then on the fiscal side of things, when there is inflation, you increase taxes. So we have seen that the Central Bank of Nigeria's team have decided to stick to the orthodox way of taming inflation. But on this show, very soon on the show, we'll also talk about the VAT by the fiscal side of the economy, talking about what they want to do with respect to VAT. Now, on the back of the raised monetary policy rate, the groups under the auspices of the organized private sector have protested the raise. The founder of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, Dr. Muda Yusuf, in his reaction to the announcement, said the move will impose additional cost and will be an additional cross for investors to bear. His emphasis was on the cash reserve ratio of 45%, which talks about how much the commercial bank must keep as reserve. For sure, this has reduced the amount of money in circulation. Already, the previous increases have worsened the businesses and the economic environment as well. Has also the increases has also worsened the loan repayment scheme. The figures obtained from the CBN show that the non-performing loans in the banking sector stood at over 1.5 trillion naira in 2023. The non-performing loans ratio was below the maximum prudential requirement of 5.0% of banks last year, and it declined from 5.0% in June 2022 to about 4.1% in 2023. That's according to an MPC report in September 2023. Now, for many companies that rely on loan credit facilities to fund production, this hasn't been the best of periods. The Director General of the Nigerian Association of Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Mr. Shola Obadimu, added his voice by saying that the monetary policy hike poses more challenges for managers of businesses in the country. His argument was that in economics, capital is a major factor of production. And if the cost of borrowing from banks in the form of interest rates goes up, the cost of doing business will further rise. Another group under the auspices of the organized private sector, I had one person from that group on the show at some point talking about all things COMSIC in Nigeria. I'm talking about the group Nigeria Employers Consultative Association. The Director General, Mr. Adewale Oyerinde, insisted that the successive increase in the policy rate by the committee will continue to hurt investment decisions in the private sector. Now, the persistent high depreciation in the value of Naira hasn't quite helped. There's been an argument online in the last couple of days as to whether inflation is what causes the devaluation of our Naira, depreciation of Naira, or the depreciation of Naira is what is causing inflation. Quite an argument online in the last couple of days. And we can talk about this on and on as the fact that if you want to solve the issue of inflation, if you want to solve the issue of decreased exchange rates, you also need to look at how much of your money comes in. What's the FX inflow like? Pretty much some days back, I spoke about the 4 ways the government of Nigeria makes money, gets foreign exchange into the country. And so if you want to stabilize the economy as much as possible, as you talk about stabilizing the exchange rate part, you also want to look at how you want to tame inflation. And to that regard, the CBN has done quite some work in the last couple of months as to what it is that the value of our Naira is to dollar. Very soon on the show, I will talk about the numbers, tell you about the figures today. The figures today from the CBN as touching from the non-fair market and also from the Bureau de Change side of things. Importers have not had it quite easy for themselves as they have to pay additional cost to bring in their goods. This has in many ways constrained investments of some firms and household consumption. Now, let me state the obvious. That in the last 2 months, the stock market has lost about 6% in 2 months. And there has also been an increase in non-performing loans. People are not paying back their loans. And the higher the monetary policy rates, the more difficult it will be for people who have borrowed money, for banks who have borrowed money from the Central Bank of Nigeria, from banks rather, to be able to pay back their loan. There are many companies in Nigeria today that depend on the loan they get from some banks to be able to function. And as much as we want to tame inflation, and is the reason the question of are we tightening the economy or are we choking the economy? As much as we are trying to tame inflation, we must also put into consideration the fact that some people cannot pay back their loan because the MPR has been raised. And this is expected to go higher. The stock market is expected to go even less than it has gone already. And then we're also expected to see more people finding it difficult, more companies finding it difficult to pay back their loan. The fiscal side also has to step up its game and support the policy made by the monetary authority. The full inflation increase has been due to the rising cost of transportation of farm produce, infrastructure-related constraints along the distribution network line, bad roads. Our road network so far has not been exactly the best. I guess the government on ground already is trying to fix things to ensure that our roads are better done and farmers can get their products from farm to firms. That sounds like a rhyme here, from farms to firms. Wow, just change the A, take out the A there, put take an I there, put the A there, and you are good to go. Now, also, we've also seen security challenges in some food-producing areas in Nigeria, and exchange rate pass-through has also affected the cost of products here. And our domestic products, again, the prices have also increased because the cost of getting a liter of petrol has also increased over time. So a lot has to be done to stem the level of inflation we have at the moment. With more security for farming communities and a kind of a guaranteed improved food production, food inflation should drop soon. I personally look forward to what the food inflation figure for the month of May will be. I already compared the prices already, the price of rice, price of beans, price of all the stuffs there. And I personally look forward to what the food inflation figures for the month of May will be when it's released, most likely first week or second week in the month of June 2024. The goal set by the CBN is that by the end of the year, inflation should be about 21%. All right. So at the moment, we're at 33%. We're at 33%. Yeah. So at 33%. And the goal is that by the end of the year 2024, we should be about 21%. That's like 11%. We need to cut down what we have at the moment by 11%. The next monetary policy committee meeting is slated to be held from July 22nd to July 23rd, 2024. That's like about 2 months away from now, and hopefully we hope that some people are already afraid about what I want to say now. We hope that inflation rate reduces, and then they don't increase the monetary policy rate again, because it looks like the CBN will not take no for an answer in its war against inflation at this time. All right, then let's now do the numbers. Yesterday, the NGX All-Share Index dropped by 0.16% to 98,128 points compared to Tuesday's gain of 0.11% at 98,285.33 points. Investors lost around 89 billion naira as the market capitalization fell to 55.51 trillion naira, while the all-share index year-to-year date return dropped to 31.23%. Access Corp was the most traded stock by volume with 35.58 million naira units traded, while Guarantee Trust Holding Company was the most traded stock by value with 1.35 billion naira units traded. The value of Naira appreciated by 1.62% on the NatFem space there, from 1,502.63 Naira per dollar to 1,478.72 Naira per dollar, while the Bureau change rate depreciated by 1.42% from 1,462 Naira per dollar to 1,483 Naira per dollar. The federal government of Nigeria has debunked the report proposing an increase in the value-added tax rate. Before we go any further on that, let's visit two air vendors to get the cost of getting a good wig this week.
My name is Omomi Ogunoiki, and the name of my brand is Styles by Flawless, and our motto is best quality always. We always give you the best quality of strands, any day, anytime, just with very affordable money, trust me. So I'm here to talk about the prices of air in the market, what it used to be previously, and what the prices of air in the market is right now, like the current prices of air in the market. So I'll be using two scenarios: what the prices of air is last week and what the prices of air is this week. So with me here is 8 inches bone straight, super double jump bone straight. This is a client's order, a customer's air, so I'll be using it as an example. So for last week, this air was selling at the rate of on 100,000 naira. But this week, this air price has increased by 10,000 naira. So the price of this air now is 110,000 naira, and that's affected by the dollar rate. We all know that the dollar rate is not stable. It's not what it used to be. And there was a time when the dollar rate was very high and people could not even afford to buy air. We were not selling and all that. Then the dollar rate reduced, and now the dollar rate is going back again. It's going up now. It's going up. So what I advise my clients and my customer is, don't procrastinate. Any air you want to buy, so far it's a good quality air, it's a good air with a good strand, buy it now. Do not procrastinate.
Good day, my name is Veegil, and I'm the CEO of Kamis Hair World, redefining your beauty. We deal in all kinds of human hair, Vietnamese hair, straight hair, curly hair, raw hair, all available. Of lately, we've been having issues on sales due to the exchange rates in dollar. As at last week, I sold a deep wave 28 inches full frontal for 230,000. This week I'm selling this same deep wave 28 inches with a full frontal for 250 to 60k. So my advice for customers is, once you ask a vendor for the price of hair, try as much as possible to buy that hair, because the price you're getting for that hair this time won't be the same price you will get the next time you're coming to ask for that hair. Thank you.
Have it. There you have it. If you want to get it out of the air, there you have it there. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, debunked the report that it suggested the increment in the value-added tax from what it is at the moment. Recall that Mr. Oyedele had suggested some changes to the current VAT rate, including increasing the state and local share of the VAT revenue to 90% combined, which will reduce the federal government's share of the VAT being collected. According to Section 40 of the VAT Act, the federal government gets 15% of the tax revenue, states shares 50%, and local government shares the balance of 35%. The committee proposed impute value-added tax credit for businesses to reduce their cost of doing business and minimize the strain on their cash flows. The committee proposed removing VAT on an expanded list of basic food, educational services, healthcare items to protect the poor in the community. According to Mr. Taiwo, Nigeria's VAT system places a huge burden on businesses as they are not allowed to claim the impute VAT incurred on services and assets. In fact, some items which constitute basic consumption like food, education, healthcare are liable to VAT rather than being exempted or being given a zero rate. Remember that Nigeria increased the current VAT we have was raised from 5% to 7.5% in 2020. In Nigeria, many small businesses have to contend with VAT compliance in view of existing low VAT exemption threshold for small businesses. And many states share other forms of consumption taxes in addition to the VAT, thereby creating multiplicity of taxes. Export of services, intellectual property bear value-added tax rather than being zero-rated to promote export. And what the team is saying, led by Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, is that some businesses, some services should be exempted from paying the value-added tax there. Some services should be exempted from paying the value-added tax. The committee proposed certain reforms to what we have on ground already. And the first of which, it says that a full impute VAT credit for businesses to reduce their cost of doing business and minimize the strain on their cash flows. Remove VAT on an expanded list of basic food, educational, and healthcare items to protect the poor. to protect the poor. Now, they also propose the harmonization of all consumption taxes into one, which will bring about reduced administrative burden and increase efficiency in the collection of tax. Some businesses need somebody to help them track how much they have to pay, how much they have paid, and all of that. And once we're able to harmonize, we're able to unify the medium of getting this tax, it then reduces the administrative burden on some businesses, and then will also bring about efficiency. We can actually track who has paid what has come in, and what is about to go out, and that will work. That will work magic, I guess. Now, there's also the recommendation for the adjustment in the revenue sharing formula in favor of states to address the multiplicity of taxes. They also said that they would like to remove VAT on export of service intellectual property to promote non-oil export. And the truth is, one needs to create a kind of a tax holiday for brands who are doing so well. But again, to promote production, to promote export. To promote export in our country, we need to be able to see, and I think what the committee is trying to say now is that they're trying to see how that some services can be exempted from paying VAT, which is quite good. And what that we do is to improve the mindset, is to give the people who have intellectual property to be able to produce even more than they are doing before, because they know that ordeal of paying VAT has been taken out of the way. Now, on the table before the federal government of Nigeria is to increase the threshold for VAT exemption for small businesses, which will reduce the compliance burden and also enhance the VAT refund process to reduce the strain on working capital of businesses. Also introduce VAT fiscalization and electronic invoicing to curb evasion, which makes honest businesses uncompetitive. Yeah. Now, there should be consequential upward adjustment to the VAT rate on items not exempted to avoid significant drop in revenue, okay? Meaning that from time to time, once a particular business has been exempted from tax, let's say from May to July, there should be a review of that person's profit to know if the person has crossed a particular threshold. So to say that, let's say for instance, all the brands that will be taxed are asked to pay, let's say around that make money to the tune of, let's say, 100 million every month, are asked to pay a particular amount of money, are asked to pay their VAT. Now, any business owner whose business doesn't reach the 100 million naira landmark knows for sure that he doesn't need to pay VAT till, let's say, he reaches that mark. And then let's say by July, we check the businesses again and realize that this man now does profit way over 100 million naira. That person's business will be included on the list of companies to pay tax, and that's quite reasonable. The proposed adjustments are designed to protect the poor while asking more from those who can afford to contribute more. And in Sena clients, in clients where they have the interest of the people at heart, what they do is that they take from the rich and help the poor. So they tax the rich and then use the money got from the rich to cater for the poor. Very smart, and I think this is a move designed to ensure that the people who have more tend to be able to get from them and then transfer their wealth to those who don't have, maybe even make life better for businesses who are still trying to hit their mark. Now, these reforms, if implemented, could booster consumer spending on basic necessities while ensuring that the tax burden is shared among equitable income groups by consolidating these taxes into single and more efficient VAT system. Now, when businesses don't pay tax, what happens is that they reduce the price of the commodity that they sell. Usually, when a brand is asked to pay more, what they do is that they transfer the extra cost to consumers to pay when they are purchasing the product. And once some businesses are asked not to pay VAT, what that does is that it will ensure that the price of goods reduce. And so I mentioned some moments back on this show that we cannot stick to the monetary policies alone to make any critical change. I mentioned that we cannot stick to monetary policy adjustment alone to make any critical change. And so once this comes into force, because this is still a proposal, it's not been approved. Once still comes into force, what that does is that we should expect to see that the price of foodstuffs reduce, most likely. Price of other products also reduce as we go on. This committee proposal is not yet a government policy, like I said already, but it's a recommendation to the Nigerian government to work on. Now, this proposal will likely undergo further review and discussion among policymakers before any legislative action is taken on this. On this show today, we have spoken about the impact of the monetary policy rates being raised by the Monetary Policy Committee. We've also spoken about the price of wigs in the market at the moment. I also spoken about the VAT issue, VAT proposal by the committee led by Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. I'm glad you joined me on the show today. I want to get your comment as to what you think about the increased monetary policy rate. Do have to follow us on all our social media platforms. My name is Oluwape Kalumi. I will see you on the next one.